I mean, it's been translated by his great-granddaughter. Parvati Ramkumar is his great. I had no idea at all. Only yesterday I was like, okay, let me read this kind of book, right? Madhavan Nair, V. Madhavan Nair, who writes under the name Mali.
Vidya,
Hey, Muttama.
I know that you're always ready for me whenever, because I've done this like regularly now for quite some Saturdays. Okay, before I start, we did have the translation book bazaar.
That's right.
There's one question that's always, I always wanted to ask you, but never really came down to it, okay? Sham introduced us initially, and then he used to tell me about the work that you have done, the two of you have done. And then one day he mentioned that you had done your master's in France.
Comparative literature was my subject.
Okay, and so that was what? So what did you learn in that?
So basically, I went to Pondicherry to do my master's. My subject of study was English literature, and as part of the English literature course, I had a course that was Indian writing in translation. And that course, literally, I have to say, I must have been, 19, literally opened my eyes to literature from our own country. We had an excellent teacher, Sujata, called Sujata, very strict, but fantastic really, who did this marvelous course introducing us to, I think, 13, 14 Indian writers. She just changed my life, Muttama. My interest, it just opened out a world to me that I was unfamiliar with. Till then, ask me about Marquez, ask me about Tolstoy, ask me about Raymond Carver, ask me about, any British writer, and I could rattle off Chaucer, why Dante. I've even read Dante in translation as part of my literature course. But it was thanks to this one at Pondicherry University that my eyes were open to the treasures of Indian writing in translation. And I have for you.
Okay, but my question is, what on earth did you do in France?
Good. And I have for you the first book. This is exactly the same book that I used so many years ago, called Samskara, The Right for a Dead Man, written by U.R. Ananthamurthy in Kannada and translated by a man whose writing I have come to love so much, A.K. Ramanujan. I knew him as a poet who'd write in English. I never knew that he used to translate till I was introduced to this course. I was so deeply influenced by this text. Ananthamurthy was a radical writer, and the story is about a debauched Brahmin. A Brahmin who lives in an agraharam and, then supposedly sins. And for somebody like me, it was such an eye-opener to the realities of contemporary India, translated from Kannada so expertly by Ramanujam. And I also spent my growing up years in Bangalore. So when I could hear the cadences of Kannada in the course of his translation, I was just so taken in, I can't tell you, that जो भूत वहाँ पे सवारा है आज तक नहीं छूटा है, definitely, okay, नहीं छूटेगा भी. Now the thing is, as part of the course, she introduced us to Premchand, she introduced us to Tagari Sivashankara Pillai, we did Anand Math, we did so many writers from different parts of the country, but somehow Ananthamurthy and this fabulous anti-Brahmin tirade, I won't even say tirade is absolutely the wrong word. This sort of, critique of Brahminism absolutely captured my fancy. And then, I came to realize in a year or so that he was deeply influenced by the existentialists, the existential movement from around the world, and, with some of the writers being, Sartre, Camus, Simone de Beauvoir, that existential movement, he is supposed to have spearheaded, Ananthamurthy is supposed to have spearheaded here in India. And so as part of comparative literature, where you take literatures from different countries and nations, you and compare them to see if there are similar trends, you try and identify themes, you try and identify motifs. I chose Albert Camus because Albert Camus and Ananthamurthy's writings are supposed to be similar, and I picked up a book called The Plague by Albert Camus, and it just so happened that coincidentally a scholarship opened up as part of the course to go and complete your masters in France. So I did 1 year at Pondicherry and I did 1 year at France, and I think I just enjoyed the best of both worlds. So what I did was finally just get a degree in comparative literature, and I had not chosen Camus because, you know, there was some possibility of going to France. The opportunity didn't even exist when I had already chosen what I was going to do for my masters, but it just opened up like that. And I think I had the wonderful opportunity to listen to French teachers teach the French text, and truly an intercultural collaboration. I think it was, with me learning so many, many more things as part of that. So that's how, Samskara, as you can see, my books will still say 1993. That's when I was doing my masters, and this is one precious book in my collection. I will never ever let go. It opened my eyes to the world of Indian children, of Indian literature, entirely in translation. And I've never looked back ever since.
So the next question is that what did I remember you said that you did read out a poem in Tamil when you were at the university. Tell us something about it. Why did you choose, they wouldn't understand a word of it. So how did that come about, and why did you do that?
Being so taken in by A.K. Ramanujan. He was my literary hero at that time. Like, okay, if people had heroes as actors and actresses and, sports people, for me, he was absolutely my literary hero. I then stumbled upon, as part of the same course, and you can see my absolutely torn and tattered book, but my precious book, The Interior Landscape, Love Poems from a Classical Tamil Anthology, translated by A.K. Ramanujan. It's a precious book, where it's a collection of love poetry, which it was additional reading. It was not exactly part of the course. And to me, it opened my eyes to the fact that, my God, we read the romantic poets right through our years of literature thinking, my God, what marvelous romantic poetry is written. But these poems, they were gems. So they came from a Tamil, a collection of poems called the Kurundogai, and the thing is, all the poets they were unknown. Nobody knew in the anthology, nobody knew the names of those poets. So obviously it was a wide variety of people writing. And Ramanujan found that when he analyzed and studied this anthology, that, the poems were set in 5 kinds of landscapes. So there was the barren landscape, there was a fertile landscape, there was a desert, there was a green plain, and each one reflective of a certain mood of love. It is simply, it is just outstanding, Muttama, the kind of poetry that is there in this book. And it is, of course, I didn't read it in the original Tamil, although, my mother did send it to me, and for them to get a sense of the sounds of that language, I did read it out in part in Tamil, but I actually was using Ramanujan's translation just to introduce them to the fact that we have written such beautiful love poetry, and that it is universal. Those feelings and emotions. There's separation, there's union, there is anxiety that your lover has not come in. Such universal feelings expressed in so beautifully in Tamil that for me, this is it's well. It's again from, you can see very much the same time of it. I possibly, even, I don't know if this is, I do have the bill,
Oh, wow. This is wonderful.
From Higginbotham's in Pondicherry, where I was at the university, and I really, I'm grateful to the university and to specific teachers for having introduced me to these gems. I haven't forgotten them. I read writing in translation compulsively even today. It's my first preferred writing as against anything else that I read. It's absolutely my first preferred thing of writing, to read books in translation.
Can you read out a small poem for me from that? But anything that you feel.
I have one which I just absolutely love. Yes, this is mine. In fact, the poet, is called this poem. And of course, the poems are all composed as what she said, what he said, what her friend said, what the concubine said. That's just, there are no other titles, and this is possibly one of my favorite poems from this collection. It says, what he said. What could my mother be to yours? What kin is my father to yours anyway? And how did you and I ever meet? But in love, our hearts are as red, earth and pouring rain mingled beyond parting. We don't know the name of the poet. He's just called the poet of red earth and pouring rain. Even today, this beautiful poem just gives me, goosebumps when I read it. I have shared it with countless people in my life, and this is a treasure trove. It's called, there's poems of love, and in fact there's also poems of war, and there are anthologies that now have both the poems of love and war compiled together, but the interior landscape are just the love poems from this classical anthology called the Kurundogai.
Okay, what else do you have for me? Because you're quite the treasure trove. You do that with our bazaars. We've got too many books than we have the time for.
Absolutely.
But I want to see what else you have for me.
So, as I said, Jo bhoot tab savara tha, utra hi nahi. So the first job that I took up when I came back from France, in fact, I could have gone to Canada to do my MPhil, but I absolutely wanted to work. And I wanted to work in writing in translation. And my first job was with this marvelous publishing house called East West Books, whose editor-in-chief was our guest at the bazaar today, Subhashri Krishnaswamy. And they had this wonderful magazine, literary review magazine called the Indian Review of Books. And they had an imprint called Manas. Manas did books in, that were originally written in English, but they also did writing in translation. You can just imagine how much my world must have expanded in those 5 years that I worked at East West Books. Subhashri was a delightful boss. She was an exacting editor, and I do owe a huge debt of gratitude for what I do today to everyone that was, that to all my, my bosses and my colleagues at East West Books. Now, by the time I had joined, they had 2-3 books that had come out, and they're all, I'm only showcasing the books that are in translation. I haven't brought the books that are, that were written originally in English, but you can see there's Bhaskara Patelar and other stories by this wonderful Malayalam writer called Paul Zakaria. My God, what lovely, lovely stories, in this collection. I did introduce one to you last week called Inspector Matadeen on the Moon, yes, which is Harishankar Persai's satires, translated from Hindi. These books had already come out when I joined. When I came in, they were working on this powerful feminist writer called Ambai, and I was just blown away by Ambai's writing, translated over here so adeptly by Lakshmi Holmstrom. So that is, A Purple Sea by Ambai and translated by Lakshmi Holmstrom. We were also working on this seminal collection of stories called Contemporary Tamil Short Fiction. To me, this book introduced me to my own mother tongue much more than anything else had done till that age. And I must have been, 24 by then, I think, right? 24 maybe, by the time that I was working at 23 or 24 at IRB. This is edited by Dilip Kumar and, translated by Vasanta Surya, a wonderfully gifted translator who introduced me to the kinds of humor that existed in the short story form, people writing decades ago, people writing in the early 1900s, people writing in the late 1800s, and the experimentation with the short story form, it was on par with any short story writing across the world. Why were these writers not spoken about? So for me, it was an absolutely an eye-opener, the stint at IRB and Manas. And then, of course, we did this book. I worked on this one. Ashoka Mitran, is one of my favorite writers. And this one called The Colors of Evil, which is translated by N. Kalyan Raman. Shyam designed this cover for Manas. This book's cover was designed by Shyam for the Manas imprint, as in the painting came from an art school. It was by this painter called Jayakani, but the whole way of designing the cover and the blurb and the way the book was has been typeset inside. This was the work that Shyam did, and it was lovely. He was from the same university that I went to, and we were in touch in Madras, and and I know that his interest in design and cover design and typesetting. In fact, this is a copy that I gifted to my father, and I was so livid that he signed right across the cover. And I was like, how can you do that? You should have signed your name inside the book, basically. But that's the special connection with this. And there are 2 other books that we worked on. There were many others, and I have just brought for you what I have. A powerful, searing Dalit novel. I think virtually one of the first that I may have even read and worked on at that time, called Beasts of Burden by this Dalit writer called Imayam. What a searing insight into the state of the downtrodden in India. And this one, of course, because I went to university at Pondicherry, this is a story set in Mahe, and you do know that Pondicherry is split into Pondicherry and Mahe, and even though they're far apart, they all belong to the Union Territory, or at least the former Union Territory of Pondicherry. This one translated by Geeta Krishnan Kutty from Malayalam. It's a beautiful story set in Mahe. And set in the 40s, such a beautiful melange of the French culture and the predominant Malayali culture over there. These books, just working on them as part of the editorial team, it just changed my life forever. As much as my university stint at Pondicherry was this stint at East West Books under being helmed by Subhashri, they just changed my life forever. Of course, my interest continued, and it continues to this date. And so there's just one more book that I brought for you, which I was introduced to much, much later, after the stint at the Indian Review of Books. Here, it was all things literary. Most of the writers we chose were literary writers. And sometimes when you get into that literary space, popular fiction just eludes you. And this anthology by Blaft, the Blaft anthology of Tamil pulp fiction, my God, Muttama. What a delightful collection of stories. There are detectives, there are bungling husbands, there are mad capers, scientists, weird goddesses, popular writing translated, again from the Tamil into English by I forget, in fact that's she's a very, very well-known playwright, Preetham Chakravarti. That's right, selected and translated by Preetham Chakravarti. And this too introduced me to some wonderful popular writers whose stories would feature in newspapers and magazines. There's decades before Remington Steele hit the screen. We do have a detective duo in this book, male and female, each one teasing the other and solving mysteries. And of course, I have to bring this up. I used to have a very old lady working as my house help. I think she was more a part of my family than really being a house help. She kept telling me that I work only in your house and in the house of another Pirpakar. used to wonder, who is this Pirpakar? She'd say his house was just right there. She would look at me quite accusingly every now and then, saying that you are in the literary world and you have never heard of Pirpakar. And I was like, who is this? Only decades later, when I read the Blaft anthology of Tamil pulp fiction, I realized she was talking about this fantastic writer called Pattukottai Prabhakar. And it's her way of saying Prabhakar as Pirpakar that threw me off guard. And then I went with my house help to his house to get this book autographed. It's not this exact copy. I couldn't find the exact copy. I have another one of it. To get Pattukottai Prabhakar to autograph that page, where those pages on which his story was featured. So it is just, see, Sweetheart, Please Die by Pattukottai Prabhakar. I mean, it is just unbelievable where and how Indian writing and translation is in my life, and how I have come about it in such remarkable ways. I think the influence will never ever go off, and I really do hope from Funky Rainbow we can pass this on to 5, 10, 50, 100 children, going forward.
Okay, you've spoken about Tamil literature. Do you have any examples that you can give me from any other Indian language that you would say? And don't say any examples from Bengali, because I find they are the ones who are most translated. But anything that you found, and I know you just have this thing that you go and find some very, very quirky stuff or something which most people don't know about.
The Kannada writers, I think, because maybe these languages are sort of closely, we are South Indian languages basically, right? So once I discovered these Tamil treasures, and because I had the opportunity to straddle cities, being in Chennai and being in, Bangalore, a couple of times, I tried to find more and more, writers who've written in Kannada originally. And the stint at IRB, and also by then translations had become quite, the vogue. Lots of wonderful translations that, started to come by. And, I discovered, just like this, without having known them all my life, writers, like I said, U.R. Ananthamurthy was there. Then there was this one, the Kuvempu. And, happily, I have to tell you that it was with Subhashri herself a couple of years ago when we traveled. We did travel to interior Karnataka because I wanted to go to, travel within Karnataka to go to the birthplaces of Ananthamurthy, and we ended up going to Kuvempu's home. So, I discovered Kuvempu, I discovered S.L. Bhairappa, and Jayant Kaikeni, who's one of my most, current favorites. Discovered, much to my to my pleasure, that he's a film songwriter. Like, he writes songs for movies, but has done such wonderful stories that straddle the Karnataka-Maharashtra borders. There's a group of, our states have those interlapping borders, right? And a lot of his stories are set in those, border areas, and it has just been a pleasure to discover Kannada literature. And of course, you also know my love for Jerry Pinto and the various Marathi writers that he's brought into my life. There's Sachin Kundalkar with Cobalt Blue. There's Jayant Matkari, about writing about contemporary Mumbai. There are memoirs. There's very powerful one called Baluta, which is the memoir of a Dalit writer called Daya Pawar. Jerry Pinto has been another writer who's really introduced the world of Marathi writing in translation to me. Many, many more states to go, many, many more writers to discover, and hopefully in our travels as Funky Rainbow, we will find a lot more to read and enjoy from our own literatures.
You should charge me for these lessons that you give me, Vidya. Thank you so much. I come up with this because I want to learn. I've come to an age, I realize that I wish I could go back to school or to college and do these things,
you indeed can. One is never too old to learn. So
I agree, but when I can do the shortcut method, तो मुझे क्यों जाना कहीं पर? This is the world of Instagram, and you really teach me so much. Thank you, Vidya, and I love doing these videos with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.